Council members and participants, we are now live.
Thank you. I understand that state law currently requires that the following announcement be made at the beginning of every remote public hearing as follows. Due to the current public health emergency, City Council committees are currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make these remote hearings possible. Instructions for how the public may view and offer public testimony at public hearings of council committees are included in the public hearing notices that are published in the Daily News, Inquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the hearings and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has come. Sydney Sherrills, will you please call the roll to take attendance? Members that are in attendance will please indicate that you are present when your name is called. Also, please say a few brief words when responding so that your image will be displayed on screen when you speak.
Vice Chairman Jones.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilmember Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Councilmember Driscoll.
Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Councilmember Squilla.
Good morning, Madam Chair and colleagues. Present.
Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Bass.
We have a quorum.
Yes, Councilmember.
Okay. Thank you. A quorum of the committee has been established and this hearing is now called to order. This is the public hearing of the Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless regarding Bill number 220655. Ms. Sherrills, will you please read the title of the resolution?
Bill number 220655, amending Chapter 9/800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Landlord and Tenant to modify requirements and authorizations related to the city's residential eviction diversion program, including associated changes to the landlord and tenant relationship and to make certain technical changes, all under certain terms and conditions.
Before we begin to hear testimony from the witnesses we have for today, everyone who has been invited to the meeting to testify should be aware that this public hearing is being recorded. Because the hearing is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. Additionally, prior to recognizing members for the questions or comments they have for witnesses, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available in Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this purpose. Before we begin, I'd like to make a few remarks about the legislation before this committee today. Good morning, colleagues, good morning, witnesses, and everybody listening in. It is very exciting to be here today to consider extending the eviction diversion program, an innovation shepherded by my colleague, Councilmember Gim, that I'm really proud to have supported, that has drastically decreased the number of evictions filed in the city since its inception in 2020. During a time when Philadelphians were thrown into financial distress because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we came together as a city and created programs that would keep residents in their homes whenever possible, making filing for an eviction a last resort instead of the first and only step in landlord-tenant disputes. The eviction diversion program has been a monumental success, and our model has been rightfully recreated in other cities in hopes to decrease eviction filings and destabilization. In a city that at the beginning of the pandemic had the fourth highest eviction rate in the country, with 1 in 14 renters facing eviction every year, it is of the utmost importance that we recognize the positive effects that the eviction diversion program and targeted rental assistance have had on our residents. Providing millions of dollars in targeted local rental assistance helped almost 40,000 families remain in their homes when the pandemic had thrown every other aspect of their lives into a tailspin. The city's landlords, the majority of whom have smaller operations, were able to be paid, and residents were not under the constant threat of homelessness. The eviction diversion program has created an alternative means of landlord-tenant dispute resolution that often keeps the parties out of courts altogether. By decreasing the number of evictions filed, the courts have been able to provide more efficient legal proceedings. No longer burdened by the thousands of eviction filings that once plagued our courts, when an eviction is filed, the wait time for landlords has decreased by half, from 90 days to 30. Seeing the positive effect that the eviction diversion program has had on residents across our city, it only makes sense to consider extending the protections past the December 22 expiration date. Extending the eviction diversion program will allow the city's stellar housing advocates to continue the work that they've been doing to keep folks in their homes while mediating disputes between landlords and tenants, providing a pathway to resolving conflicts that does not destabilize our residents. A stable home is the foundation of a stable life. And it is critical that the housing policies we put forth are centered around maintaining stable housing for our residents. Extending the eviction diversion program is a necessary step in doing so. And so I want to again thank Councilmember Gim and acknowledge also the hard work of the Kinney administration and housing advocates across the city in implementing this program. And with that, I want to provide an opportunity to Councilmember Gim, who is the bill's sponsor, to make remarks as well as other members of the committee. Councilmember?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And we're just so fortunate to have you as our chair of our Housing and Homelessness Committee. It is an important aspect towards the success of this work, the bill before us directly, but also more importantly for a vision for the city going forward. Madam Chair, members of the committee, for the past 2 years, our city has administered a successful and acclaimed eviction diversion program and built a collaborative network among city agencies, housing advocates, and a municipal court system that has been a model of hope and action in dire times. In the past 2 years, our city has dramatically reduced evictions in what was once the 4th highest evicting city in the nation, and has received praise from the White House, the U.S. Department of Justice, and the U.S. Department of Treasury. Diversion programs like ours are now adopted in at least 180 jurisdictions across 36 states. The legislation before us today, which has earned the support of the mayor's administration, of legal organizations like our partners at Community Legal Services and the Pennsylvania Apartment Association, ensures that this essential work continues. As our city scales up complementary eviction prevention programs, including expanding the Philly Tenant Hotline and bringing right to counsel to what is now 4 zip codes in the coming months, we must ensure that the eviction prevention work continues to grow and continues to be responsive. These programs work in concert with eviction diversion to bring increased housing stability to communities and to protect the public health. Today's bill updates and extends the existing law to improve clarity and match the current diversion program structure. It was important for us not to be so prescriptive within the bill, but to allow our city and city agencies the flexibility to adapt, respond, and evolve the program. The bill also allows for a future transition to a post-filing program with protections for eviction records, should that be an option, particularly with our municipal courts. Every eviction prevented is a day that is more stable. Every eviction prevented is a day that's more stable in a family's life. A child who isn't suddenly disrupted from their schooling, a family that can stay whole, and a chance for our city agencies to deliver on a mission that is the foundation of public safety, that is the foundation of economic security, and of a city's vitality. And that begins with a stable, housed family. The eviction diversion program not only prevented an overwhelming number of cases from reaching court, it helped reduce court times from 90 days to just about 30 to 35 days. By building on this program's success, cases which require court resolutions are now heard significantly faster. The program ensures that small landlords also gets paid. Philadelphia's City Council has allocated $45 million in targeted specific funding for the Diversion Rental Assistance Program to help settle cases in the diversion program. And with thanks from my colleagues on council and this administration for this clear investment in the future of our housing stability programs. This morning and afternoon's hearing, we'll also introduce an amendment to this legislation to extend the duration of the program for another 18 months until June of 2024. This is the longest extension yet of this program and a commitment that our city takes eviction prevention seriously. I want to especially thank my co-sponsors, Councilmember Brooks, Gautier, and Thomas, and all members of the Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless for your attention and consideration of today's bill, as well as to Melissa Long, our program partners, the Pennsylvania Apartment Association, and many others for their work, leadership, and collaboration. Our work together preceded this pandemic, but it proved that our city, which so often faces some of the nation's most serious problems, can also be the starting point for dedicated and successful solutions, and in cases like this, can sometimes be a model for the nation. Thank you very much, Chair Gautier.
Thank you so much. I want to recognize the presence of Councilmember Brooks in the hearing. Good morning, Councilmember Brooks. And I also want to ask if there are any other members of the committee that would like to make opening remarks.
Council, Madam Chair, this is Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Councilmember Bass.
Good morning. For some reason, my camera is not working, but I am present.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So if there are no more opening remarks, we'll move on. Ms. Sherrills, will you please call the first panel or witness we have to testify this morning?
Melissa Long, Director of the Division of Housing and Human Development.
Okay.
Ms. Long? Wonderful. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Okay, good morning. I'm Melissa Long. Good morning, Councilmember Gautier, Councilmember Gim, thank you very much. Other members of the Housing, Neighborhood Development, and Homeless Committee, and members of City Council. I'm Melissa Long of the Division of Housing and Community Development. I'm very pleased to present testimony on Bill number 220655. And today I'm joined by my colleagues in the Managing Director's Office, Eva Gladstein, Kathleen Grady, and Josh Roper. As I have previously testified, the Kinney administration strongly supports Philadelphia's eviction diversion program. This partnership among the administration, City Council, PHDC, housing counseling agencies, NACs, legal assistance organizations, mediators, tenants, landlords, and the First Judicial District Court has really helped make our city a national leader in keeping tenants in their homes during the pandemic. And as you can see, I really want to thank, it takes so many partners at all the groups and agencies that I just said, and I can't thank them enough for all of their perseverance and hard work. The availability of emergency rental assistance during the first 16 months of the program was critical to the extraordinary levels of success. From September 2020 through the very first full week in January 2022, of the over 2,000 participating landlords and tenants with a final outcome, more than 1,750, that's 80%, reached an agreement. This level of success would not have been possible with all of the partners and without all phases of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which to date has distributed nearly $300 million to over 46,000 applicants. Again, thanks to all of the partners. After January 7th of this year, the substantial emergency rental assistance to help pay rental arrearages has no longer been available. Nevertheless, under the current legislation and to date, a high percentage, 60% of landlord-tenant participants in the eviction diversion program have continued to reach agreements. Specifically, since January 10th, of the over 1,500 pairs of landlords and tenants, nearly 930 households have reached agreements that have enabled them to remain in their homes. In light of this ongoing record of success, the Kinney administration continues to strongly support the eviction diversion program, and I'm extremely pleased to testify in favor of Bill number 220655, which will facilitate the program's continuation. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from members of the committee for this witness? Okay.
Madam Chair.
Sorry, Councilmember Gim.
I was wondering if members of the committee are not asking questions, I'd like to ask one, but after the members of the committee are done.
I don't think we have anybody, so feel free.
Thank you so much. First of all, Melissa, thank you so much for your partnership. This has been a long journey, but it's been one that we've worked through a tremendous amount of challenges and come out on the other side with, as you mentioned, something that's been incredibly successful and most importantly has been a real model of collaboration amongst a lot of different entities. And I think that's been one of the most important things that we can do together as a city is to have a united front, a common mission, and a real commitment to one another. So I want to thank you for your leadership on all of that, first and foremost. So I wanted to note that we have, committed the committed funding of the $45 million for the targeted diversion rental assistance program, thanks to the council colleagues. And thank you to you as well, Melissa, for committing an additional $15 million in addition to that $30 million to bring us to that $45 million amount.
Yes.
We expect this money will be used in a targeted way. Is that right, with the new program that's rolling out in the coming months?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And that'll be 30 million in this year, in this fiscal year. And the partners are all working round the clock to get this stood up as quickly as possible. And it'll be targeted to landlords and tenants participating in eviction diversion.
Okay. And I think that's been one of the most important aspects, that we have targeted amounts of money that has been dedicated to this program. So any landlord who does participate, they and their tenants have access to a targeted and restricted pool. So we brought on the Reinvestment Fund to assess the program, given their expertise in similar evaluations of the city's mortgage foreclosure diversion program. So we wanted to bring them along and expect to see their findings. Expect the findings to be available?
Sure, we are continue to work with them. I think it's important to acknowledge in a short period of time, we've had a couple iterations of rental assistance and legislation for the eviction diversion program. So we are working with them to, finalize the methodology for that evaluation, but hopefully soon. Yeah. But we meet with them on a regular basis.
Understood. It's my understanding that, again, we did not want to be hyper prescriptive within the law. We wanted to allow the program to evolve, but I recognize that the program in its current iteration has only been in existence for several months. So, this is partly why they're just kind of shifting narratives about what's working at different times. But I think what we're trying to do is be responsive.
Exactly. Yeah.
So could you, I know that the program has also tried to prioritize being responsive to small landlords. Could you share a little bit about what the city is doing to meet the needs of smaller landlords?
Absolutely. And Eva, Kathleen, if I'm missing anything, chime in. I really want to, we're very excited about the Landlord Gateway project. A partnership of 15 plus city agencies to create a website with resources for landlords on a broad range of, how to get a rental license, questions with eviction diversion, et cetera. I can also say we're looking for outreach to small landlords to make sure that they're engaged and, working with Paul Cohen at HAPCO and Andre Duvall at PA Partnership, PA Apartment Association. I think this is very exciting. I now also can say Cora Good Shepherd. I think Sue Wasserkrug is on this call. We now have a landlord liaison. So, I have said before, our small landlords are critical partners and a source of affordable rental housing in this city. And we want to ensure that, we're providing as much support that we can to them as well.
And how often do you hold meetings?
Well, we're starting now. We've just started convening the partners of the Landlord Gateway, and my office and my partners in MDO, as we speak, are going to start scheduling some bi-monthly meetings with our partners, Paul and Andre, to make sure that, we're meeting the needs of all partners in this program.
I appreciate that. I also understand that the department is looking at more clearly outlining regulations for participation to the program, so that these are not something that are done by word of mouth, but are actually written down so that people don't have to wonder what it is that they should expect. They'll have a clear understanding of what to expect and a little bit of the timeline. Is that accurate?
That's totally accurate. And a huge thanks to Kathleen Grady and Josh Roper. Can't thank enough people, right? It really does take a huge amount of folks to come together to make this happen. So really want to thank them. We've already started that process, so we will continue that.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And again, I just want to thank all of our city agencies and their leadership. This wouldn't be possible without the vision and the commitment held by Eva Gladstein from when at its earliest inception, when it was the very hardest to do. Eva absolutely knew where we wanted to be, and we were able to adapt and make sure that we could get there ultimately. And of course, as you pointed out, Kathleen, Josh, and so many other individuals at the city level that help create portals and have smoothed over and done outreach and are responsible for the operations of the program. None of this success would be possible without anybody, and any of you especially. And for that, I think our city council offers you our tremendous gratitude. And I know 46,000 families for sure do. So thank you very much, Madam Chair. And those are all my questions.
Vice Chair Jones, do you have questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. I just want to go on the record echoing and lauding the accomplishments of a program that had difficult origins, to say the least. It was often contentious, but people from all stakeholder groups stayed at the table to come up with the best possible scenario that helped the most amount of people. When I say people, I mean those people who are rentals, those people who are investors, those people who are small business managers who have put their life savings often into a rental property. It was not perfect, but it was, we did not let the imperfect be the enemy of the good. And sometimes programs are measured, whether we talk about the diversion program that was set into motion for evictions and and foreclosures or this eviction program, it is not just measured by the people that it helped, but the catastrophe it avoided. And I want to say kudos to the sponsors of this bill and previous bills, but also for their work with the stakeholders to make sure it was as amicable as possible. So thank you for that work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Alrighty. Okay. Ms. Sherrills, will you please call the next panel to testify?
Vikram Patel, Abraham Pardo, Hanaya Harvey.
Mr. Patel, are you there and connected?
I am indeed. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Yeah, my name is Vikram Patel, and I'm a supervising attorney in the housing unit at Community Legal Services. Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to address City Council in support of the Eviction Diversion Program. So to talk about this bill and give a little background also, this bill is going to extend the requirement that landlords participate in Philadelphia's Eviction Diversion Program, which has been, as we've heard already, a great success. Now, this bill in particular, it's going to extend the current version of the program, which essentially was put in place earlier this year, but it has its origins starting back in the summer of 2020 in response to the pandemic through the Emergency Housing Protections Act. We first got the first version of the eviction diversion program. Now, this bill in this current format, it requires a couple of things. One, for landlords to send the tenant a notice and then participate in the program for at least 30 days and negotiate in good faith. However, there is an exception for cases of imminent harm. So if there is an emergency situation, it can go directly to court. In addition, the program matches certain tenants with Philadelphia's well-trained network of housing counselors who meet with tenants, review their finances, help them connect with rental assistance and other resources, and help support them during the mediation process. Now, it's a free program for landlords and tenants. It's far less intimidating than court, and it actually provides landlords and tenants the space to discuss the issues at hand. Now, this is I think one of the most compelling parts of the program is that it actually works on repairing that landlord-tenant relationship. Now, at Community Legal Services, generally when I'm dealing at court, I deal with landlords and tenants in a very limited fashion. I'm only in their lives for a short time, but these landlords and tenants, they're in each other's lives for an extended period. And so if we can repair that relationship, it saves the landlord from having to spend time and money trying to find a new tenant and have an empty unit. And then on the other hand, it helps tenants with maintaining their housing. Now, in cases where the landlord-tenant relationship can't be repaired, it allows them to part on more amicable terms because it saves the landlord from having to go to court. But it also saves the tenant from having an eviction filing, which follows them around for the rest of their life. I want to reiterate that. Eviction filings follow tenants around for the rest of their life, which makes finding safe and affordable housing significantly harder. This program doesn't just help people with maintaining housing now, but it also helps people with maintaining and having access to safe and affordable housing in the future. Finally, with these agreements, when a landlord and a tenant can reach an agreement outside of court, it saves court for those complex cases, the things that actually need a judge, that actually need a court, and allows them to be heard in a timely manner. As we heard earlier, there was a 90-day waiting period, which has now come to about 30 days. So cases that need to be heard in court can be heard in a timely fashion. Community Legal Services, we've been a proud part of the coalition that has helped with building and supporting the eviction diversion program and will continue to work on improving and growing it. We deeply appreciate all the support you've given this program in the past and ask that you continue to support this program and this bill today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We deeply appreciate the work of CLS, and I also appreciate you highlighting how damaging evictions are for people, not just in the moment, but for the rest of their lives. Abraham Pardo, are you there? I see you there. Can you state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony?
Hi, yes. Good morning. My name is Abraham Reyes Pardo. I'm the Director of Housing at the Urban League of Philadelphia, which is a civil rights organization and a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. I am here to provide testimony in support of Bill 220655 to extend Philadelphia's acclaimed eviction diversion program. If it is true that the pandemic has left a mark in all of our lives, the most vulnerable populations continue to fight some of the side effects, which includes the current conditions of the housing market. Renters across the United States and Philadelphia are trying to navigate the uncertainties of many evolving scenarios that will potentially impact their ability to secure housing. Some examples are the interest rate increases set in motion by the Fed from the beginning of this year, which have subsequently prevented thousands of hopeful low and moderate income renters from accessing affordable mortgages. But there are other situations, like the one amplified by a recent report published by the Pew Charitable Trust, which indicated that in the last 3 months of the year 2021, private equity firms purchased nearly 20% of all U.S. homes. Nearly a third of American house sales went to people who had no intention of living in them. Private equity is now the most prominent backer amongst the 35 largest owners of multifamily buildings. At times, they don't only hold the stock, but also write the rules of a significantly under-regulated field. All of this to say that the circumstances surrounding the housing market continue to elevate the relevance of the eviction diversion program, which, thanks to your support, became a national referent. Now more than ever, our most vulnerable communities are in need of safe spaces to mediate and de-escalate matters before they make it to municipal court. The budgets of some of these affected families are already stretched thin in trying to keep up with their basic living expenses. Hence, that some of them make the decision to risk their housing stability by foregoing what at times might be perceived as their most significant expense, their housing expense. This also means that many of these families lack the resources to hire an attorney, which could prevent them from understanding and communicating in the same language used by their counterparts. These can significantly alter the power dynamics and decrease a tenant's ability to understand and navigate the different processes designed to complete an eviction. At times, they will receive letters and communications written in legalese, using terminologies and timeframes they're very unfamiliar with. However, through the eviction diversion program, tenants access support from a dedicated group of advocates, which includes housing counselors certified by the Department of Housing. We act as translators for all participants, regardless of their financial profile. We play the role of connectors and advocates, setting realistic expectations for both parties and creating feasible action plans for all participants. The program has already proven to have the capability to successfully connect struggling families with the services and the resources they need. But it is now more than ever that we need your support to continue creating opportunities for those families who are one rent payment away from becoming homeless. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your work. Thank you for the partnership of the Urban League. And thanks also for outlining those macro trends that are having an impact on the housing market and making this program all the more critical. Ms. Harvey, are you there and connected?
Councilmember Gautier, Madam Chair.
Yes, how you doing?
Yes.
Good morning.
Sorry, Councilmember. I was going to take questions after the, okay. Hi, good morning. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Yes, my name is Hanaya Harvey. I just want to start off saying that the program was a lifesaver for me and my son. Unfortunately, in the city, we experienced a lot of hardship, crisis, and young parents like myself is facing these challenges alone with no support. And I felt like this program changed a lot. I sat and met with a counselor named Chan. He was very supportive. I also was over the phone with the judge, and they let me explain what was going on. They heard both parties out. It was hard communicating with the landlord without this set in place. So once this happened, it just made everything a lot easier. My original situation, I was put out from L&I at my last apartment. L&I shut my building down and all the tenants had to leave. So I used all my savings to get into this place. I came into this apartment short. Thank God for the landlord working with me. So I was playing catch up since I moved into this apartment. I ended up getting my hours reduced at Amazon. So I was actually it was just falling short after that. And when I tell you, I was so scared, me and my son being on the street, and I've been working since 14. I'm never without a job. So facing that I could possibly have an eviction forever was just so scary. And I feel like the eviction program came in and saved the day. And I'm pretty sure a lot of young parents is facing this type of situation. And I think it could be a great help just to keep families off the street and keep them safe. And also with everyone's background too, I like what the gentleman said earlier. An eviction is not just like for the moment, like that's like forever. And I'm only 24. So it would be hard for me to get a house, hard for me to boost my credit, all types of things. So I just appreciate the program, and that was a serious time and need. So I thank you to everyone that's involved in this program. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being willing to come here and share your story with us. I'm sorry to hear of all the struggles that you've had to go through, especially dealing with some city systems. But I'm glad that you were able to access the program to stay in your home. And I wish you and your son the absolute best.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Gim, do you have questions for the panel?
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair. First of all, Ms. Harvey, thank you so much again for your very emotional and important testimony and a reminder of why our city exists. It's really to support people like yourself through circumstances beyond your control, are facing things and need to keep our families together. So thank you so much. We didn't know that this is what could happen when we first launched it, but we knew that, that somewhere out there, we wanted to make sure it reached a mom like you, and we're just grateful for you. And just, thank you so much for taking the time to testify, because it really brings it home that we really do need to have options other than an eviction within our tool belt. And that's what the city of Philadelphia has figured out, how to create something other than an eviction has to be available for families in need. So thank you, Ms. Harvey. I wanted just a quick question for Mr. Pardo, and I want to thank the Urban League for just being an incredible partner on everything. You've been extraordinary advocates. You're raising the alarm bell on the private equity buy-up. And we have been a real united front. And in particular, one of the things that we're deeply invested in across our entire council body is the housing counselors, which Urban League has been very supportive of. You do far more than just, obviously this program. You're supportive of the mortgage foreclosure diversion program. You're in direct connection with individuals, with landlords, You're creating a better ecosystem for housing, no matter where you may be on it, and showing that more information and more partnership is critical. I was interested in asking how you see the diversion program supporting the work that the housing counselors do. How does the diversion program relate or enables housing counselors to reach more people? And I think you kind of touched on this, like you were, reaching out to tenants and getting information, but I'd love to hear it more directly from you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So we, as you very well pointed out, we are the housing counseling agency sanctioned by the Department of Housing. Provide our tasked to provide comprehensive housing counseling services. We knew that there was a space for the type of work that we were performing, that we are performing as part of the Eviction Diversion program, but prior to the pandemic, it was there was at times it will be a little bit complicated to navigate exactly how to find that opportunity to connect with the renters. We knew that there were several renters that needed our support, and we knew that we had the capacity to support their needs. But what the Eviction Diversion program has done is that it has created that safe space where we can all meet. And also in bringing landlords into the equation as well, they are becoming more familiar with other possibilities and other style of communication that maybe was not available to them before. Quite frankly, I think a lot of these cases were going straight to court because there wasn't a space like this before. Right, and proof of that, I think it's been reemphasized throughout the testimonies that have already been provided, that one step before has now created opportunity to de-escalate some of those cases and communicate in different terms with landlords and tenants. So the housing counselors have the training, the housing counselors have the knowledge, the housing counselors are doing the work. What we needed was the space and the opportunity to connect with these tenants.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pardo, and please let all of your housing counselors know how much we appreciate them. They are the cavalry that I think our city needs to be able to reach people right on the ground. So thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sherrills, will you please call the next panel or witness to testify?
Andre Del Valle, Sue Wasserkrug, Samia Bristow.
Wonderful. Mr. Del Valle, are you there and connected?
I am. Good morning, Councilmember.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Sure. Good morning, Chairperson Gaultier and members of the Committee on Housing and Neighborhood Development and Homeless. My name is Andre Del Valle. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Pennsylvania Apartment Association. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to testify today on Bill number 220655, which, as mentioned, would extend the residential eviction diversion program to facilitate dispute resolutions between landlords and tenants. I'd like to begin by thanking Councilmember Gim and her team for the open dialogue over the course of the past year as we work closely with PHDC, Good Shepherd Mediation, Community Legal Services, Philadelphia Bar Association, HAPCO, and our members as well to continue to improve this program to find a balance for landlords to recoup outstanding balances while preventing housing instability across the city of Philadelphia. This cross-collaboration led to several programmatic changes, a landlord liaison being hired, as mentioned earlier, $30 million of local rental assistance funds being made available, as well as a number of amendments which you see before you today. While we believe the Reinvestment Fund's independent analysis would have been more helpful in crafting other amendments to this legislation, this cross-collaboration has a commitment from all parties to continue to fix the ongoing challenges to the current eviction diversion program through regulation. This commitment will ensure that the Pennsylvania Apartment Association, tenant advocates, and other appropriate stakeholders can continue to work together in a productive manner on a program that finds equilibrium for both landlords and tenants. At the onset of this pandemic and before mediation was created, many of our members proactively met with residents who are facing financial hardships and began creating payment plan agreements, and once the American Rescue Funds were made available, urged tenants to apply for these ERAP funds made available by President Biden's administration. These rental assistance funds continued to assist landlords who had not received payments in over 2 years, while also assisting tenants by ensuring the tenants' arrears were paid off, given tenants had the ability to apply for up to 12 months back, and at one point in this program, 6 months forward for any rent or utilities, given the financial hardships brought on by the pandemic. The amendments before you today are crucial for our industry, and once again, I'd like to thank Councilmember Gim and her team for their commitment to those amendments, as we're also committing to working with the city, courts, and other stakeholders, including PHDC, Good Shepherd Mediation, Community Legal Services, the Philadelphia Bar Association, on what the future of this program looks like for both tenants and landlords in the city. We hope to reduce the timeline of mediation in the future, which has been one of the biggest challenges for landlords across the city, while incentivizing the program for both parties. We look forward to working with this legislative body, the current and next administration, and all the appropriate stakeholders in the upcoming months on the future of this program. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, and kudos to you and your organization and Councilmember Gim and her team for being able to work on these compromises. This is a completely different tone and tenor than when we were first working on some of this stuff in the early days of the pandemic. Ms. Wasser-Krug, can you state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony?
Yes, good morning. My name is Sue Wasser-Krug, and I'm the Director of Mediation at Cora Services. And thank you for this opportunity to address the committee in support of Bill 220655. This bill will extend and update the current ordinance that provides an opportunity for all landlords and tenants to participate in Philadelphia's eviction diversion program. The program has proven to be an effective way to support landlords and tenants in their efforts to resolve disputes without resorting to litigation. Diversion gives landlords and tenants tools to unblock clogged lines of communication that can sour their relationship. These tools enable landlords and tenants to work together to find mutually acceptable, sustainable agreements that keep tenants housed and keep landlords in business. The program, as you've heard, works because of the collaborative efforts of many partners, including the city, nonprofit organizations, and dozens of trained volunteer mediators who facilitate dialogue and assist participants in reaching realistic and beneficial agreements. Council members, you wisely created the eviction diversion program in September of 2020 to mitigate the potentially devastating impact of the COVID pandemic on our city and our municipal court. And based on the program's success during the pandemic, you then extended the program, adding diversion as a pre-filing step in all eviction proceedings, not just cases where COVID caused an economic hardship. This new ordinance, the 2021 ordinance, allowed us to provide a variety of diversion pathways to address a range of situations. Despite the increase in volume, we now process about 500 requests for diversion every week. I am proud to say that the dedicated staff at Cora and at our partner nonprofits are able to serve landlord and tenants within 30 days unless they request additional time. And as a result, some 80% of the landlord-tenant pairs who participate in mediation reach an agreement. Landlords and tenants reach out to me every day with feedback about the program. Recently, a property manager who participated in about a dozen or so mediations commented, "The mediations have turned out to be a wonderful experience and issues are resolved where tenants would otherwise have been evicted." A landlord attorney once recently said to me, "Thank you so much. It's always great when we can resolve cases without the courts." With the creation of new diversion pathways that bolster parties' ability to negotiate, we've been flooded with correspondence from landlords and tenants who want to share their negotiated agreements with us and be counted as diversion success stories. When landlords and tenants are empowered to tackle their issues together, the result is not just a win-win, but it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the tenant who maintains housing stability. It's a win for the landlord who stays in business and recoups their costs, doesn't have to incur any costs of turnover. And it's a win for the community by reducing evictions and homelessness and by strengthening the local economy. And of course, diversion reduces the burden on the court, so it's a win there too. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you for your important work and for sharing those stories with us. Samia Bristow, are you there and connected?
I am.
Can you please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Samia Bristow, and I am the Associate Vice President of Programs at Maternity Care Coalition. Each year, Maternity Care Coalition works with thousands of families across Philadelphia, providing home visiting, virtual supports, center-based care, and community education services. Year after year, and across all of the communities we serve, our advocates, doulas, teachers report that housing security is a top concern of their families. Pregnancy and the first few years of a baby's life are some of the most crucial for lifelong development. Hardship during early childhood can significantly affect brain development. Research shows that homelessness can lead to physical health problems for infants, including low birth weight. Unfortunately, far too many infants and toddlers in Philadelphia experience homelessness and housing insecurity. Extending Philadelphia's eviction diversion program is an important step to ensuring families' basic needs are met. The last time Maternity Care Coalition appeared before this committee, we spoke primarily about the impact of housing instability on children's health and development. As we know, children's health, particularly infant health, is linked to perinatal health. So I would like to speak to you about perinatal health and housing stability. The importance of housing stability for Philadelphians, one key benefit of this bill begins during pregnancy. A study conducted by the University of California, San Francisco Preterm Birth Initiative found unstable housing during pregnancy increases the odds of preterm labor by 20%. So housing instability during pregnancy puts a birthing person at about the same risk for preterm labor as smoking does. Another key finding of this study was the correlation between unstable housing and hospital length of stay and readmission during the postpartum period. For those experiencing housing instability, longer hospital stays were 60% more likely, and there was a 170% increase in readmissions within 3 months after birth. Extending Philadelphia eviction diversion program aligns with the recommendations made in the city's most recent maternal and mortality review report, which emphasizes the need for stable and secure housing during pregnancy and the postpartum period. In a city where our pregnancy-related death rate is higher than the national average and where Black women account for less than half the births, but account for nearly 3/4 of the pregnancy-related deaths, we need to leverage opportunities like the one we have with this bill to create a better, safer, and healthier city for pregnant Philadelphians and their families. Thank you. I welcome any questions.
Thank you so much for your important work, and thank you so much for your testimony. I see Councilmember Jones, you have a comment? Councilmember Jones, are you there? Or maybe that was from earlier, I'm sorry. Councilmember Gim.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to express my gratitude to this entire panel. I think it's a great example of how, different parts of the housing system are coming together to figure out solutions. I really want to thank Sue Wasserkrug and your team of amazing housing counselors who are out there delivering a message of agency, of opportunity, and of hope, that we can find a solution to some of the biggest crises that most people face. And I especially want to thank Andre Del Val for your partnership at the Apartment Association. It's something that we're deeply committed to on a very personal level. I think we are trying to, again, as I said, not be hyper prescriptive about legislation. We want legislation to provide us the opportunity to do something significant and important that makes a difference in people's lives. And we recognize the importance that your members have had in adapting to situations that are different from the ones before. But I think what we are committed to, and what I appreciate so much from PAA, and especially through your leadership now as Vice President, I believe, for PAA, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Is to find a truly prosperous housing economy starts with stability and the certainty that that landlords can stay in business and that tenants have opportunities to be housing stable. And of course, I really want to thank our partners at Maternity Care Coalition. Thank you so much. I think we said it before, the building block of a healthy city, the building block of a prosperous economy, and the building block of public safety starts with a healthy family. And Maternity Care Coalition has been one of the most important partners in seeing the link between literally life and the vitality of our city. So thank you so much for being supportive and being our partners through this and many other things. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Sherrills, will you please call the next panel to testify?
The Honorable Annette M. Rizzo, Barbara Amstutz, Catherine Hicks.
Judge Rizzo, are you there and connected?
I am, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Good morning. It's such an honor to have you with us this
Oh
morning.
my, I don't have a camera on and I don't know how to activate it.
Don't worry, we can hear you. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I get to see all of you, which is terrific.
Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, the Honorable Annette M. Rizzo, and I'm glad to be here. So I have to echo, you're not seeing my big grin, everyone, of just how proud with a capital P I am. Of course, not of this esteemed committee on housing, neighborhood development, and the homeless, as well, Councilmember Gim and your team and your supporters of this bill, Chair Gautier, Brooks, and Thomas, thank you so much. But a grin that goes beyond everyone who's just present. I just have to stop and give a pause, really, of how much journey you have done, having lived a life on very parallel tracks, how successful this has been, but more to come. So at your invitation, I appreciate to weigh in and absolutely endorse, of course, passage of bill number 22065 and its progeny that will come after that to hopefully make this an established part of Philadelphia's landscape in terms of really sustaining housing for our citizens. I appreciate these health checks on the program, which obviously were born out of crisis, shaped by the laser focus of the needs of the moment to stabilize housing for so many vulnerable Philadelphians, all under the extraordinary stressors of a world health catastrophe and economic meltdown. Now you're marking a 2-year anniversary, pause, of the eviction diversion program. We now do have the opportunity to look over our shoulders as to what has been accomplished, what journey has been done, and what actual benefits have been wrought with the efforts and energies generated from this very legislative body to make eviction diversion a reality. Thank you. So members of the prior panels of speakers have shared data and also granular information on the day-to-day operations of the program. I'm especially struck by the vignettes shared by Sue Wasserkrew, but most importantly by the poignant story, her story told by Ms. Harvey. Thank you for stepping up to share that. So I'm not here to reiterate that data, but only to reflect on the data in a global way. What have we accomplished? Yes, the call to arms has been answered. And I love the idea that on each and every opportunity there was shown a cohort, a biosphere of certain stakeholders and those who are benefactors of this program coming together. It has been an amazing, I call it a ballet of amazing movements and parts at the same time, and yet all working to produce this wonderful theater that in reality has created so much good. And it's been a path of lessons learned, obviously, from the city's other programs with mortgage foreclosure, with tax lien, and with other programs such as that. And the DHCD, under Melissa Long and her team, of course, to put this together, CLS, PLA, in the stewardship of that hotline, which is really the portal entry for so many to really find help as they get directed to the vital resources of the city. And of course, CORA, which really encompasses Good Shepherd. As we started this program, it's an amazing, as I say, portal to entry of it. We see the power of mediation, as Abraham talked about, a safe space where landlords and tenants can really talk and dialogue face to face, even though it's not in person or even by Zoom perchance, which even shows that even those hurdles have not stopped the success of this program. And that is a huge and significant accomplishment beyond all that could be accomplished. So where do we go? Endorsement of this bill to support the eviction diversion means only one thing: breeding more success, more stability built upon a platform that has been established 2 years ago, and in particular, adding the consistency and level playing field with the program. Making it mandatory pre-filing from the very beginning has really set the stage of what has been accomplished and what can be accomplished. So though it has not been a straight line of meeting goals, it's building blocks for a much stronger program in the future. I would be remiss not to recognize representatives of the landlords and the trade associations and counsel, of course, for them, the city agencies, everyone else that has stepped up, our wonderful, wonderful, precious housing counselors, which really are at the heart of the program and really are served at that epicenter so faithfully and so successfully. So as much as I say to you all, it is a time to look over our shoulders as to what has been done, but I respectfully suggest to you, don't stare. We need to plan thoughtfully and strategically to improve that which has been developed. So I suggest my 3 C's. First, coordinate. Coordinate more systemically with the courts. And I'm so actually thrilled coming from the bench to see that coordination has started to just reduce court docket and provide a platform, even when matters do have to come into the court system. How are they done fairly, efficiently, effectively, and provide an off-ramp for distressed tenants perchance to still have a chance to work out sustainable deals with landlords to obviously support their housing situation. I was just at a Civil Gideon meeting of the Bar Association, and I give a shout out to Judge Fox, who really has shifted culture in the court to really look at the hydraulics of the court system to see it can be more responsive to all the stakeholders, particularly the tenants coming in with landlords to get their matters adjudicated, with the chance really, as I said, to off-ramp and see what can be done to sustain that relationship. That is new, and it's something that should be celebrated, and a great salute to Judge Fox and his team at the FJD. We really have become a Philadelphia model for the country, and I'm so proud to say that. Challenge, yes, there are challenges. With this recent culture shift, I have to just to divert just a second. Just last night, I attended a lecture with Anita Hill, for those who may remember her from history. 31 years ago, she testified before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee about gender issues, gender discrimination, and harassment. And she started a movement that she talked about as a culture shift for those who are in distressed needs to come forward. And she talked about that being step one, but that's just step one. So a culture shift in what she sees has developed to really hopefully go on a path of structural and institutional changes. And I suggest here we learn from that in our very, very subject we have here today. Culture has shifted. Culture has shifted. So let's, based on that, continue to work to have those institutionalized or structurally there present to really help all the citizens of Philadelphia with, again, this ballet of services that we've talked about, which is just incredible. Particularly dealing with the challenges of private equity coming into our city limits as other major cities. Yes, we have to take pause with that, because you know what it's about? It's about establishing neighborhood success as well, having communities be stabilized, not just in the home, of course, for the family, but beyond. And for those in private equity may not understand the Philadelphia story and care enough about that to step in and look at alternatives to stabilize. We have got to be that voice, that sense of education, that sense of structure to offer opportunities for private equity to be in partnership to stabilize our housing on a citywide basis. And I know that's a challenge that rests with this legislative body. You are up to that challenge. Commitment. We need to commit our precious resources. The fact that the city has stepped up with, of course, city council and the mayor with dedicated resources going forward for rental assistance shows that commitment that is so valuable, so priceless for us as we move forward with other initiatives with right to counsel, partner with our local foundations, and of course, the TRF study that comes forward. It was vital to the mortgage program. It will be a guiding light and principle to see where there can be opportunities of modification, shift, change that meets the needs, and you will learn much from that data. But we are all data driven. It's sort of our benchmark, and it's what makes us a special program and one that can be modeled, again, beyond Philadelphia borders through the Commonwealth and other states. History has proven that, and you, in fact, will step up. The one issue I want to talk about is we have to be thoughtful in coordination, my last point, with making the successes of eviction diversion the best it can be. Really celebrating these volunteer mediators who actually are colleagues of mine from JAMS, now doing mediation full time. We see the power of it to help support that in training and expansion. Also to look at the life of sort of the distress that a tenant undergoes, both from notice from the landlord, informal dialogue, coming into diversion, possibly being a court action, and what follows in terms of having a record. Also to try to sort of, again, take something sideways and hopefully address some of the default judgment issues with more notice and education throughout the community. There is opportunity for partnership there. We need to take that up and have commitment to it, to really see at all these inflection points where we again can help to stabilize housing. So, in just closing, again, a huge kudos and shout out to all of you on this platform for all that you have done, all that you will continue to do. Passage of this bill will provide, of course, that needed platform as we move forward. And again, remain the model throughout the country, not because we are, but because we do. So, as I say with every speech I make, may the force be with all of us. And thank you again, Madam Chair, for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Judge Rizzo. Thank you for those important insights. Thank you for your endorsement of this critical program, but more importantly, thank you for your contributions to this program and to the cause of affordable housing more broadly in the city. So I have a feeling that members want to also jump in and make some comments. So I'm not going to make you guys wait until the end of the panel. Councilmember Gim, and then Councilmember Gilmore Richardson, and then Councilmember Gim, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, colleagues. First, I just wanted to commend and give kudos to Judge Rizzo for her testimony. I remember when she worked with Councilmember Jones on the mortgage diversion program many years ago now, when I was a very young legislative aide in City Council, and it was just a dynamic program, and they were able to help a number of people in the midst of a housing crisis that we were facing in the city at that time. And so I wanted to thank her for her continued commitment and involvement on this work, and also for mentioning my soror, Anita Hill, who was here in Philadelphia last night. I wanted to thank my colleague, Councilmember Helen Gim, for her work in ensuring that she was inclusive in the background work for this bill, and working with all stakeholders both internal and external, to get to the best space and place that she can get to for this legislation and for your continued work on this historic rental assistance and housing assistance for folks in Philadelphia. One thing I just wanted to quickly go back to, something that I think I heard mentioned a little bit earlier, about the $30 million in rental assistance. I just wanted to get that on the record, that there will be rental assistance still available going forward, because that was one thing that we continued to hear. And I just want to put that on the record, that we all work very, very hard to ensure that there will be rental assistance available. And one thing I wanted to ask, just for the record, is around the process. And I'm very familiar with this process now. And I will say it usually takes about a month or so to get through the initial part of the program. And so with the $30 million that was set aside, will there be rental assistance for that first 30 days, of the process? You know how typically you're mandated to go through that first 30 days, but will there be rental assistance given for that portion of the process as well?
Do you want me to respond?
Hey, Melissa.
Hey, how are you? So this is going to be a different process, right? And it's very compact. So we're very looking to streamline the application, right? And I just do want to add, while this 30 million is absolutely amazing, it is going to be very targeted and not as substantial for each tenant. So we are working through that with the partners and our tech folks to try to, provide support so that folks can get into a repayment agreement. So the approval process and the application will be we're working to make it much more streamlined.
Which, I certainly agree with. And I think that will be advantageous to being able to assist more families, right? And instead of the money sort of drying up really quickly with the amount of individuals we're seeking to assist. But my question remains relative to just that first 30 days, because it's mandated that you have to go through that first 30 days in order for your application to be reviewed and for the mediation to be scheduled. Is there any compensation for that first 30 days?
Well,
again, you know what I mean, Melissa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, and, happy to follow up because we're working through all that process, right? And hopefully that it won't take as long. Those that can have a, speedy review and quick agreement and turnaround, also working with PHDC, are great partners in this to get payments out quickly. So happy to follow up with you as we get, closer to having that buttoned up.
Okay, I just wanted to get that on the record, because
course.
that was a lot of hard work by my colleagues to ensure that it was at least $30 million there for continued rental assistance as this program is extended. Because that was, like I said, the biggest thing we heard in this process is that there was not funding. There is funding. Funding is available. It will be more stringent so that we can help more families than before. And I appreciate the work that you all are doing there. And then lastly, and I thought about this listening to just all the testimony and thinking about how things went previously. What resources will be necessary to create a post-filing mediation program here in the city?
I may turn that over to, are my colleagues from MDO still here? My partner and everything for a very long time. We've been working together for decades, Eva. Yep.
Eva, you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Eva Gladstein, Deputy Managing Director for Health and Human Services. We're very much looking forward to the ability to create a post-filing eviction diversion program. But we are very concerned that we do that once there is some methodology for making sure that there's no record that would blight the tenant's opportunity going forward in the future. So that's going to take some work with a number of partners. We've begun those efforts, but I don't think that I would hope within this coming year that would be an opportunity that we could have.
Okay, and if you could just keep us updated on that and provide us any updates that you can, particularly because of the transition that's happening. We just want to continue to be updated going in sort of into that last year. Okay.
Absolutely, and we really appreciate your support and your continuing support, because that will be a heavy lift. And
yes, agreed. Okay. All right. Thank you. And thank you so much, Madam Chair. Kudos to you, Councilmember Gim. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Gim.
Yes, just a brief comment. First of all, thank you so much, Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. I think for pointing out and keeping on the record that there is dedicated rental assistance money for the eviction diversion program. And it is money that, unlike the state and ARP money that flowed through the federal government, it's ones where we can actually, be more in control of the regulations. So as you said, we can reach more families, we can reach more individuals, and hopefully make it last as long as we can. I also just wanted to just have a brief moment of thanks for Judge Rizzo. And obviously, I think Judge Rizzo and Councilmember Jones helping lead the mortgage foreclosure diversion program through our city at a time when there was crisis was a great model for showing, for laying the groundwork for the eviction diversion program as well. The eviction diversion program that Judge Rizzo has been so supportive of from the very beginning, serving as a key member of the anti-eviction task force that was led by Eva Gladstein, has been just a really clear voice in uncertain times about how to guide through the uncertainty when there's chaos that's going on all around. Judge Rizzo was an incredibly clear and compelling and moral voice that the city had to act, and actually that our best, most important use was competency. Being able to actually deliver something of importance, meaning, and that makes a sizable difference in people's lives is one of our most important tasks. And so often I think that there's a belief or tolerating of things when we're insufficient on resources. But in this particular case, the collaboration pushed us through and the resources followed. And I do think that is a lesson that Judge Rizzo kind of echoed in many of her comments, which is like, sometimes you just have to will these things into being. And certainly with someone like Judge Rizzo, being a force of will and nature as well, those things seem possible, but you've seen it now through two different crises, housing crises for the nation and here at home. And I just want to thank you for being that stable anchor through both those crises and for really guiding us with your voice and with competency as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Barbara Amstutz, are you there and connected?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Can you please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony?
Terrific. Okay. Good morning, Council Member Jamie Gauthier and Vice Chair Jones, and the members of the Housing, Neighborhood Development, and Homeless Committee. I am Barbara Amstutz, a retired lawyer serving as a volunteer mediator since the program's inception with Good Shepherd Mediation, GSM, a nonprofit agency selected by the City of Philadelphia to implement landlord and tenant mediation for the eviction diversion program. In partnership with Community Legal Services of Philadelphia and pursuant to the Emergency Housing Protections Act, GSM provides landlords and tenants an opportunity to resolve their housing issues through sustainable mediated agreements. The goal? To prevent the devastating consequences of eviction and homelessness. For decades, GSM has been providing mediation for individuals in need of dispute resolution in a variety of settings, to include juvenile justice, peer mediation in schools, family and custody, and conflict resolution with seniors. Mediation is also particularly effective in landlord and tenant disputes because it facilitates a process that reframes the issues for the parties and enables them to identify their own solutions. The process that has been set up by the City of Philadelphia, Community Legal Services, and GSM works seamlessly. GSM has done a stellar job in training and assigning cases to mediators. Mediators, landlords, and tenants receive automated notice with the time and date of the mediation, and mediations occur via conference call. Housing counselors play a vital role in the process too. A partnership with nonprofit housing counseling agencies pair housing advocates with tenants to support them during the mediation. Housing counselors provide the knowledge of where to source and apply for rental assistance, and collaborate seamlessly and closely with tenants to provide advocacy and support. I have been most impressed with the housing counselors and their work and their many contributions during mediations. I have mediated an extensive number and variety of cases involving repayment agreements, disputes over utility bills, unanticipated rent increases, negotiations for move-out dates, new leases, redress for repairs. In these situations, the parties work together to establish a monthly prorated payment plan for the arrearages and ongoing rent, and address many of the non-financial issues. By diverting the cape from the court system, parties have avoided eviction and addressed the other housing issues without incurring any incremental costs. Due to the good faith efforts of both the tenant and the landlord and the many contributions of the housing advocates, these cases reached resolution, and in each instance, the agreement came directly from the self-determination of the participants. COVID-19 and other economic factors consequently have disrupted the rental housing market in Philadelphia, resulting in an unprecedented number of breaches of lease terms, rental payments, maintenance requirements, and move-out dates. With mediation, we will reduce the harm done, avoid the need for court, and help landlords and tenants resolve their conflict on their own without court intervention. It is my understanding since 2020 that over 3,319 mediations where the landlord and the tenant participated, over 80% resulted in agreement or an agreement to continue to negotiate. Benefits of diversion and mediation include helping tenants avoid eviction and landlords to avoid vacancies and turnover costs. Based on my experience, this diversion pathway is most effective, reduces the backlog in housing court from 90 to 30 days, reduces evictions that may lead to homelessness, and meets the needs of both the tenant and the landlord with an expedient and self-determined solution that includes resource referrals and counseling support. I strongly support the continuation of this eviction diversion program in 2023 and on to 2024. It is the most cost-effective way to resolve landlord-tenant disputes without court intervention and the cost and damage of an eviction filing. I am most grateful to serve as a volunteer in the eviction diversion program and to contribute to helping people who have been adversely affected in their housing stability by COVID-19 and its aftermath. Thank you very much today for affording me this opportunity to testify today. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for all of the hard and meaningful work you've done as a volunteer, no less. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Catherine Hicks, are you there and connected?
I am here. And
Good morning.
Good morning. Good
What a
morning.
pleasure to have you here with us this morning.
Thank you. It is a pleasure. And I've been listening to everyone, and it's been wonderful.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Okay. Catherine Hicks, and Philadelphia president of the NAACP. And good afternoon, all. Thank you, council members Gim, Brooks, Gautier, Thomas, Richardson, and all those who continue to support this bill. The Philadelphia branch NAACP is in total support of Bill 220655 and extending the eviction diversion program. The 2020 coronavirus pandemic wreaked havoc throughout the world. This was especially seen with low-income families who struggled to maintain jobs and housing. Families who rent their homes found themselves in fear of being evicted and the fear of homelessness. Landlords were in fear of not being able to receive payment and losing their properties. This program has helped both. For the past 2 years, the city of Philadelphia has administered a successful pre-filing eviction diversion program launched in September 2020 by providing notices, resources, and counseling support, as well as trained mediators to resolve these disputes. These are desperately needed in this time. We have families that are concerned that about homelessness, about losing their jobs, and we find that when you are in an eviction process, all of these things come into effect. You have the chance of not only losing your home, but losing your job and maybe being displaced as a family. The program was extended twice with various changes made to the structure and is currently authorized through December 2022. We are hoping that this will become more of a permanent plan, and we ask that those that are involved look for that and look to see that that can happen. The program has proven dramatically to reduce evictions in what was once the 4th highest evicting city in the nation. The eviction diversion program not only prevented an overwhelming number of cases from reaching court, but it also recently helped reduce court wait times from 90 days to 30. By building this program's success, cases which require court resolutions are heard significantly faster. And that is, again, something that is very important to those that are in a process of eviction, because you only have a certain amount of time, and in that time you are trying to, if not look for additional housing, but hopefully be in a chance to receive assistance. We must continue to support families with this program and others to assure that families and landlords can work together cohesively. We have seen and heard the horror stories of what happens when families are displaced or put in a situation where they cannot receive housing because they have received an eviction on their credit. I would hope that the eviction diversion program will be extended to assure that citizens eligible continue to maintain their homes, family, and stability. I saw that Judge Rizzo was on the line earlier. I'm not sure if she's still there, but has been an advocate for many years. When I worked at the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office, where this program, I was in contact when this program began. This has just been so needed throughout the city because we have so many families that are in need of not only a diversion program like this, but an opportunity to get assistance. So again, with the Philadelphia branch NAACP, along with the national, housing is one of our call to actions and call to charge to make sure that this is something that we are looking at. So we are in full support. And again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this.
Thank you so much for your testimony, and thank you very much for all of your work and advocacy on this important topic. We appreciate you. And I think Judge Rizzo, you have a comment?
Yeah, I was so glad to see you, Kathy, there. Proud as anything. I feel like I'm the mother to everyone. Am I that old? Question mark. Don't answer.
I remember when it started, and it was a wonderful program, and you took charge then, and I just applaud you for continuing to do this work, because it does work. And it's just exciting. When I saw your name, it was jumping for joy.
Yeah, great. And I just want to thank you so much for all your journey now. Fantastic. But as well, comments made. Big shout out to Council Member Jones. Smile big. He called me a shiro. I call him a hero right back. And all of you online. Really amazing. So very gratified and humbled by your comments. And I'm honored to be still part of this incredible team. Thank you.
Thank you. Some powerhouse women in this hearing today. I'm happy to be here. Okay, are there any other questions or comments for the panel? Councilmember Jones, do you have a comment? Okay. All righty. There being no further questions from members of the committee and no other witnesses to testify, I will ask if there is anyone else present in this hearing whose name we have failed to call and who wishes to offer testimony on the resolution being considered today. There being no further questions from members of the committee and no other witnesses to testify, I want to thank all the panels and witnesses for their participation today. We value your opinions. I now invite all panels and witnesses to please disconnect before we go into our public meeting. We will now pause the proceedings briefly as multiple participants leave the hearing. Ms. Strohs, let me know when we're good to proceed.
We should be ready to go, Councilmember.
This concludes the public hearing of the committee. We will now go into a public meeting to consider the action to be taken on the bills before this committee today. Ms. Strohs, will you please call the roll to take attendance?
Councilmember Bass.
Good morning or good afternoon. This is Councilwoman Bass. I am present still.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Councilmember Brooks.
Good afternoon. I'm present.
Good afternoon.
Councilmember Gilmore Richardson.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and colleagues. I am present.
Good afternoon.
Councilmember Squilla.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and colleagues present.
Good afternoon.
Councilmember Driscoll.
Good afternoon, present.
Good afternoon.
Vice Chairman Jones. And Councilmember Gaudier.
Present. Thank you. We will now go into our public meeting. The chair recognizes, oh wait, is Councilmember Jones in the meeting, in the hearing or meeting? Okay. Councilmember Brooks, would you be able to do the motion? I'll send you the script. Councilmember Jones is there.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was having technical difficulties. Are you ready for the amendment?
The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones for a motion on bill number 220655.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I offer an amendment to bill number 220655. A copy of that amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Bass seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to bill number 220655 be adopted. All in favor will indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the bill has been amended. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones for a motion on all of the bills heard today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that bill number 220655 as amended be moved from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to allow next reading in our next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Bass seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. This concludes the business before the Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless. Thank you all very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have a great day, colleagues.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
colleagues.
Congrats, Councilmember Kim.